You know what's awesome? Unlimited throwing daggers. That's why we gotta get these guys painted up as soon as possible. And because I shoot these intros after I do the actual painting process, here's what we're working on today. These two characters are the new rogue heirs of Elethorn, the dual attacking, advantage seeking, and with the right gear, unlimited throwing dagger carrying heroes from Heroquest. Now, these guys look awesome, and I want to get them in the game as soon as possible, so therefore I wanted to paint them up as fast as possible. So before we dive into the process, one quick note is except for the step of the spray primer here at the beginning, I'm entirely working with a detail brush. In my case, I'm using the Artificer Layer extra small brush from Games Workshop, but pretty much any sort of detail brush will work perfectly fine. All right, let's get started. We're starting the painting process off using a brown spray primer because, well, it makes sense for this miniature. I've also got my custom 3D printed priming tool. I'll put a link to my Etsy store below where you can purchase the STL files for this tool. Let's begin the actual painting by targeting the dark brown areas of the character. I'm using Rhinox Hide from Games Workshop Citadel line of paints, and I'm looking for things like boots, leather straps, and pouches. Next up are some of the soft parts of the miniature. So this includes her hair, the top of the boots, and sort of the warm insulation around the top of the coat. I'm going to paint these using a tan yellow color. I've got Desert Yellow from Army Painter's War Paint series. Assuming the first layer of dark brown is dry, we're going to jump back to those parts and apply a black wash. I've got Nun Oil from Games Workshop Citadel line of paints. Let's highlight a few things. I want to take a lighter brown color, in this case leather brown from Army Painter's War Paint series, mix it with the Desert Yellow, and then run this along kind of the ridges of the folds in the cloak. After that, I'm going to paint her pants, at least the upper half of the pants above the boots, this lighter color as well. Sticking with the coat, I'm taking some white and mixing that in with a leather brown. I'm going to carefully outline the trim of the coat, as well as the areas where the inside has been folded out. For the first layer of the face, I'm going to work with some Kislev Flesh from Games Workshop Citadel line of paints, and I'm only going to paint the face, the neck, and the ears. I'm ignoring the hands for now. Please note this is kind of a thin down paint. Kislev Flesh may require multiple layers to get an even coat. Just put one coat down for now. We'll come back to the second coat later. Before I can apply a second layer to the skin, I have to let the first layer dry. Therefore, we're going to work on the hair for a bit. Take some white, mix it in with the Desert Yellow, and carefully trace along the strands of her hair with that color. Back to the face, we're going to apply our second layer of Kislev Flesh. And don't rush this step. If you need to, let the second layer dry and apply more layers as needed. At this point, we're going to bring out some detail, and we're going to do that using a brown wash. I've got Seraphim Sepia from Games Workshop Citadel line of paints, and we're pretty much going to apply this all over the miniature except for the hands. Now the brown wash needs to dry completely before we continue, but that doesn't mean we can't do nothing. Focusing on the hands and the daggers in the hands, I'm going to apply a gray layer. I've got Dawnstone Gray from Games Workshop Citadel line of paints to the blades of these weapons. To follow that step up, we're going to now apply some silver, in this case Shining Silver from Army Painter's War Paint series. It's a metallic paint to the blades as well. Depending on how new you want the blades to be, you can choose to apply more silver or less silver. With the blades done, let's take some metallic gold color. I've got Bright Gold from Army Painter's War Paint series and paint the handles of the weapons in her hand. To finish up the blades in her hands, we got two more quick steps, applying a black wash to the blades themselves and then a brown wash to the gold handles. The brown wash is drying at this point, so now we're going to work on some details. I'm taking an off-white color. I've got Brain Matter Beige from Army Painter's War Paint series, and I'm going to apply this to the tips of the coat insulation. We're going to restore some of the contrast to the hair now by applying that Desert Yellow white mixture back to the strands. The rogue also has a black hairband holding her ponytail together. Let's carefully paint that now. I'm using Unlight from Cultcraft's line of paints. Her shirt is white, so we're going to paint that now. However, when it comes to clothing, I like to use off-white colors. That's why I'm painting this with Brain Matter Beige from Army Painter's War Paint series. And while you have the white out, if you're feeling adventurous, try to add a small dab for her eyes. This is always a dicey proposition. Let's pick out some more details by taking some leather brown, mixing it with Rhinox hide, and highlighting all those dark brown areas we started with way back at the beginning of the paint job. Just like with the coat, I'm picking out the raised areas on those parts of the miniature. There are a few silver details. She's got her daggers in her belt, as well as the front and back bands of the bracers. Once the silver is dried, go ahead and apply a small amount of the black wash to these areas as well. Working on her hands, we're going to build up the color of the Kislev flesh with a few thin down layers like we did with the face, letting each layer dry in between. Then take some of the brown wash, go in between her fingers to pull that detail out. The rogue has a lot of gold trim details, so I'm going to take my bright gold from Army Painter's War Paint series and paint up anything that looks like a buckle, some sort of a snap or emblem, whatever it may be. Also, the trim along her shirt is gold. And then once that dries, I'm going to hit it with a thin layer of the brown wash. To complete the paint job, I want to make it look like she's standing in some sort of Heroquest tile. I'm going to take a bluish gray mixture, paint up the entire base, then hit it with a green wash. The blue is going to be Altdorf blue, and then the green wash is going to be Biel-Tan green. Both of those are from Games Workshop, Citadel's line of paints. And there you go, your rogue Heir of Elethorn is ready for your games of Heroquest. Thank you all for watching. I'm Jason, the creator of the Tabletop Battlefield. If you want to see me paint some other miniatures up, Heroquest or otherwise, got Battletech and some other things up here. Feel free to post those suggestions down in the comments. And until next time, have a good night.